Let's say you have a guitar and it is like not in the best shape, and you'd probably throw it away. But I want to show you what you'd do to get it playing. This guitar doesn't play really at all. I mean, I put the strings on it and it strung up okay, and I could get like an okay setup on it, but for some reason the electronics don't work, and just in general, like it just didn't seem quite right. So I started taking it apart, and I thought, I could probably just turn this into like a YouTube project and see what happens with it. So basically what I want to show you is how do you take this guitar and make a guitar that doesn't really play at all or is in pretty bad condition, and make it playable and make it sound good. So that's what we're going to start with. I also wanted to show you how to do this with, like, how easy this is. Like, this is very simple stuff. It's not as hard as it seems. I know it's a little bit intimidating at first because you're like, oh my god, it's a guitar and I gotta, like, turn screws and stuff, but like, it's really not bad, and you're probably not going to mess it up, especially if it's on a guitar like this where it's pretty jacked up anyway. Okay, so first thing I want to show you is like just all of the things that are really wrong with this guitar. And I guess we'll start over here. What I noticed over here is that the tuning heads, they're pretty all right. They're a little loose, but they're functional. The nut itself looks like it had a little bit of work done to it. Maybe like a thicker gauge string or something was in there. At some point, the fretboard was somewhat sanded down and not properly conditioned. You can see like these marks right here. That's from some sort of sanding. I don't know, maybe a Brillo pad or something. Even on the frets, you can kind of see they've been worn in with some of their notches here. You can see underneath each of where the strings sat. Yeah, they're all just kind of worn out. When I did do a string setup on this, it seemed to play okay, but I don't know if it's just because of this particular Yamaha or what, but like where the neck and the body meet has like this negative angle, which maybe I'll address at some point, but it forces the saddle over here to be just incredibly like low. And so you have like these really pointy, pokey, doesn't play nicely bridge saddle pieces that are just kind of in the way if you're ever palm muting or playing in that area. Also, you can see like the electronics on here are all kind of corroded. I mean, that might be why there isn't getting any sort of sound out of it, but I'd have to imagine it's probably more in like the switch or these volume and tone pots. That probably is why, or it might be the input jack itself. So yeah, we're going to take a look at all of that and just start with trying to get this thing to play. We have the guitar here. I had already taken some of this stuff apart, so I guess what I want to briefly describe is how you would get to the point that I got to without having to go back and do it all. I took the strings off. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. There's probably a bunch of really good YouTubes on how to do that, so I'm not going to go into too much with how to get the strings off. What I've done is just basic screws. So with all of these screws that go around the edge here, you're just gonna work them with basic screwdriver until they come off. Cool. I've already done all the things, so I'm not going to go through all that. But once you have that done and the strings are off, this just pulls out of here quite nicely. And underneath you'll find like a mess of wires and stuff. Some of these wires will be connected through a couple of these holes. This one goes for the ground, and then there's another one that goes out to the input jack or output jack, whichever one. I guess is an output jack because it's a guitar. And then you're just going to desolder those or clip those. depending on what you want to do, I would just clip them and then make like a clip-on system. That makes everything a lot easier if you're going to be in here working often on it. You know, it makes a lot of sense. So anyway, just clip those out and take this away. This is going to be probably the first thing we have to work on because currently we're not getting any sound out of the guitars. I really don't think it's the pickups, but we'll kind of go through what you have to do to troubleshoot this and figure out what exactly is going on. With any guitar though that's like this, you want to make sure that everything else is in good working order. And when I was taking this apart, I found that there was a really big problem, and that's right here. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a pretty massive piece of paint missing, and it actually revealed that there is a crack. So I was taking this bridge off of here just to kind of, you know, make sure that everything was looking okay. And that's when I discovered this. So you just, for this type of bridge, you just take all of these screws out and put them somewhere. I always use like a gallon Ziploc bag or something, just throw everything in there. And then label it so, you know, you don't forget what it is. Okay, so once you have all of these out, this bridge just kind of comes out. There's the springs in the back you have to worry about, but those just basically pull apart. You'll see like in here, there's these little spots where the springs go. You just pull them out with some pliers. And then that bridge comes out, and this is where I think the biggest problem with this guitar is, and the first thing that we'll have to fix, is that this piece of it is totally broken. So just absolutely hanging loose here. I can't even believe that I strung it up and it didn't just totally fall apart on me. I guess it just kind of shoved its way in there and then sort of nudged it so it wouldn't move anymore. But this is definitely going to have to get fixed if this is ever going to be a good playable guitar.